Hey guys, I have a new game for you guys. This is a two-player blitz that I played just yesterday against Deluks917. He was actually in a tournament on Saturday that I helped to announce. What's the word? Broadcast. I got on the stream basically Saturday with eight players, and we had a pretty fun tournament. I'm sure some of you were there. Um, anyway, this game starts out with a pretty hard decision for Deluxe. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but let me go ahead and just rewind really quick just because I just started with talking. Now, I took Engineering Genius. That was an obvious pick because there were so many good leaders that I could pick next turn that I felt happy to just take the yellow card. But he has a tough pick here. Now, look at this. I'll pause it just so you can see. So he has Coliseum, and that's definitely an option. But then he misses pretty much all the good leaders. Now he could sure go for Confucius, but I mean, let's see. He takes Colosseum, and then yeah, so Confucius would fall into his lap if he took Colosseum for sure. But then he also has some great leaders like Hammurabi and Hippo that he could just take that and then not do anything with the other CA. So I guess he wasn't super hot on the Confucius option because this is what he did. He went for Hammurabi. Dun, 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 dun. He went for Hammurabi. So, and then of course that's good for me because I'm looking at Colosseum. Now there weren't really any, as you can see, any wonders that needed to be finished fast. So Engineering Genius wasn't like that amazing as it would be with, say, Library or Pyramids. So there was that to consider, but out of all the wonders, Colosseum was uh, really. I was really glad to pick that up. So he went for Legend Hammurabi and building, the standard opening, and he got two yellows. I see Code Laws at 2 CA, so I go ahead and grab that. And then I'm thinking about this next turn. I could build a lab, and perhaps I should have done that, but I was, thinking maybe I'll look at printing press because I am getting that free happy face from Coliseum. So I was thinking, well, I'll just work on the Coliseum, and that way also I have a population free to take advantage of any events. And we can see an early Michelangelo coming out, and Eleanor, and Columbus. So that's half the leaders are already on the row. Knights is at 3 for Deluxe. So he builds that lab. And I see Michelangelo and I think, sure, why not? I got this happy face from at the Coliseum, and I could see, I could see getting into. I have Engineering Genius, and I saw some potential with Mike, especially if Iron comes out. Now, usually I would wait until I had Iron before I got Mike, and I would want to see, the wonders and kind of think about it a little bit more. But I don't know. I was just feeling this was a Mike game, so I just went for it. And being a Mike game, I'm not going to be super aggressive early. I think Michelangelo wants to get to increase their military later on in the game. For sure, age 2 you go heavy military, but early on I wasn't too worried about keeping these aggressions around. So Deluxe now has Hanging Gardens to work on. He has got Knights, he has Irrigation in front of him, Alchemy. So quite a few good cards. He does take Alchemy. A lot of players lately, 2-player, are just not going for Alchemy at all. But I think it's one of those things where if it is easy and right in front of you and it's early, then you might as well. We haven't had Iron come out at all, so that's a factor. So at this point, I've built my second lab, and I'm considering. Oh, and I got Taj Mahal for free thanks to Michelangelo. And I'm considering maybe going printing press, but I thought that I would have enough already. Like I have enough demand on my resources with going for wonders that I don't need to spend another 3 on a printing press. So I went ahead and dropped that in favor of taking patriotism and just working on the wonder. Next turn I'll have enough for Code of Laws. Now here the iron comes out, and watch what he does with it. You can see that if he doesn't do anything, it'll fall into the 7th and 8th spot. But he cleverly puts it in the 6th and the 7th spot for me here by taking breakthrough. So it was a great play on his part. That's the first breakthrough. There's one more, and then there's the cultural inheritance or heritage, whatever that's called. So I go ahead and trigger. We got 2 science extra, and that opens up a couple possibilities here. One, I could get right into iron, as Mike enjoys having for sure. Or if I play Code of Laws, then that gives me a couple actions to grab Richland and do something else. So those are kind of my 2 basic options here, Code of Laws or iron. And, you know, in hindsight, it was kind of, I don't know, kind of a wash. I think it was, the thing that made this hard is they're both pretty good ways to go. But I went with Code of Laws, partly because I could then draw Richland and have more actions next turn. And I don't know, it's kind of a wash as far as which one's better, I think. Deluxe has gotten his food going, and that's threatening Jan, of course. He has knights, he has irrigation, and he's got Jan right in front of him for 1. And so, of course, he goes for that. With medieval army, so he just needs to get a couple more knights down, and he has a tremendous force. Tremendous, I say tremendous, it's really Jan in that case is only like 3 more strength, which is good for sure. And with the MA, that's pretty, it's a pretty significant threat. However, I am able to respond here pretty well with knights right in front of me. And he's played medieval army already, which I think might have been a mistake on his part. I think it's better to wait because I can easily catch up, or easily keep up at least, with 1 knight, and then next turn I can copy it because I do have Colosseum. So this is Colosseum showing some of its strength here, is the flexibility of being able to copy something and still have an MA to do other things. I did say goodbye to irrigation there, which is always risky. However, there is Ocean Liner in this game, so it's not super risky in this case. He gets his 2nd knight out, so he's at 9 strength at this point to my 3. At this point, however, I can copy his tactic and go to 4, and then I can also, of course, build more units. I'm looking at inhabited, so I do play inhabited territory there, mostly because I had 3 boats. That was a big part of the incentive there. And also I thought it would be nice to take advantage of one of these events. The events that came out were all of the +2 food, +2 rocks, or choose 1. Those are the 3 events. So basically I had 2 choices there, and I went for, I believe I went for the rocks there. I forgot, actually. Sorry, I missed that. Definitely prioritizing the science cards, cultural heritage, and breakthrough. And of course, I want to do everything I can to get strong. Pulling in 6 culture per turn right now with Mike. Mike is getting me 2 by himself, and he'll soon, with St. Peter's, he'll get me a lot more. But of course, I'm facing a lot of pressure from Jan, and here he goes and gets a 3rd knight. So now he's at 13. Now, fortunately for me, he has ramped up fairly slowly, and here I'm able to keep up with a 2nd warrior, so now that puts me at 10, which is still safe, and I'm considering maybe theocracy right now, just to keep up with military. I realized, okay, and he did this to me last time we played, is he just goes relentless aggression, and last time he won with that, and I had to keep that in mind, that I cannot slack on military at all this game. So that's why I considered theocracy there, but I put that away because here I have Roby in front of me, and max, that is. And so I went ahead and took max, and I thought I had a pretty good shot at pretty decent government, and would rather go for that. Like Republic, for instance, would be awesome, given the low science income that we both have. Breakthrough sitting there at 2 CA, and really those science yellows become so important when you're both sitting at 2 science a turn. He does have Himeji. He has the rocks to finish that, so he goes ahead and does that, and grabs Richland. Now I think that Richland might have been more of a hate pick than anything else. I don't know. Like, sure, Richland would have been really nice for me, but anyway, he takes it, and I'm looking at, okay, another strength deficit. Now it's 5, the difference of 5. Plus, Himeji's done, so it could be actually 7. And I know I've got inhabited there, so I can play navigation here, thanks to cultural heritage. The only issue is that that only leaves me with 1 CA left, and facing corruption without spending that CA on something. I did not want to give him breakthrough, though. And this was a tough choice for me, but I decided to go ahead and eat a little bit of corruption, 2 rocks, in order to get that breakthrough. You'll notice I'm at 3 food, and that was unfortunate. But what happened there was I got an unexpected pop increase. I would have been at 3 food with the next yellow costing 3, but because of the event, I was pushed over to the next line. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, that did cause corruption right there. So oh well, here comes the response. Navigation got me within safe range, but then he went ahead and did that. War on science, war on technology, that is. And what that means, I did win this strategic territory, fortunately. But what that means is that if he wins by 6, he steals navigation. And here I have played inhabited territory, and geez, I just I don't want to have that kind of 3-boat swing. It's a 6-boat swing, actually, if he steals that. Not to mention a 4 strength swing. So I was kind of fortunate to win that territory there. However, I realized, through playing with the options here, that it's actually impossible for me to prevent him stealing. I believe, I say that, but there's probably a way I could have maybe disbanded a bronze mine, perhaps, and then built another knight that way. So not impossible, but pretty destructive. I don't know. Maybe I should have done that anyways. What I did with that extra CA, though, that last CA, was I researched selective breeding. So that left me with only 2 science, so that if he didn't want to sacrifice, he would only steal 2 science. So at least that kind of forces him to sacrifice. It's still easily the best option for him, so not like I needed to do that. But I don't know. In hindsight, maybe I should have disbanded. I just want to check on and see where we are. So I'll go ahead and pause now because I want to take this opportunity to tell you guys about a new tournament that I just launched a couple days ago, actually. And what it is, it's a weekly Blitz tournament where we will play a Blitz match, 1 Blitz match every week at the exact same time every week. So that's why it's called Weekly Duel. And it's kind of like the Transcontinental Ladder in the sense that if you win, you go up a rank, and if you lose, you go down a rank. But it's only 2 players. So it's 2 players, Super Blitz. You need to be level 30 or higher. And if you're interested in that, and that sounds something that's it sounds fun, the time is 7 p.m. Eastern, which I believe is 11 p.m. UTC. So if that works out for you, that's on Sunday at 11 p.m. UTC. Then click on the link. It'll be in the description. Check the description for the link. All right, so back to the game. Now that we have it paused, let's look at what is going on here. Deluxe is obviously going to steal navigation. I mean, who wouldn't in this case, right? But then the question is, does he get any good territories out of it? He doesn't know about inhabited territory. Now Republic is in the 2 CA slot, and I have Roby and 2 Science. So definitely am eyeing that. He does trigger a territory, developed territory, which is one that he played. I did my best to fight for that, but he did have the advantage there with one knight. It's unfortunate. At this point, I thought, okay, there's no way I can't. Like, he just stole like 6 science, basically. That's a 12 science swing. He stole that thing. So I was feeling pretty hopeless and just kind of wanting this to be over with. He goes for Nobel. Great pick by him. Gaudi's really the only thing left, but I already have Roby, of course. But we're kind of like at the end of the leaders. But look at that. That is a pretty solid CA bank right there. That's 8 CA plus 4 MA. So I'm suddenly feeling pretty good about my economy, at least my action economy. I went ahead and took Revolutionary Idea for 3. I think that was a good pickup. And Efficient Upgrade to help me get into these what do you call it? The lands, the rich land. It's basically a rich land. That's what that is. There's the inhabited territory that I pulled. Now that's a pretty high price, 2 units that I just kind of played with there and submitted. But I wanted to bid it up. I didn't think I'd win. Fortunately, that does cause him to lose 2 units. And I don't know if that was worth it in the end. That was quite a high price at this late in the game to pay for that territory. But he did at least keep that from me, prevent me from having it. So I don't know. That seemed a little high. So here I'm looking at the first real turn in Age 3. I mean, the previous one there wasn't really much out there. But now we see computers, we see Air Force, we see multimedia. So lots of really big cards coming out early. And I definitely need to take Rifleman from him because he doesn't have any kind of infantry tech. So I steal that, and I'm looking at computers. I'm definitely eyeing computers. I'm eyeing Engineering Genius. These are all potential pickups here for me. And computers because we're both, low in science, and I think that whoever gets into that first is going to have a much easier time getting into the techs on Age 3. So I go ahead and spend 3 CA on that. That's something I played a long time ago. I was hoping that Rats would hit earlier. Jan hates Rats because Jan's all about those farms, those early farms, and I thought I'd throw that in there to slow him down, but it took a while to come out. Yeah, I went ahead and skipped on the first Air Force and let him have it for 1, thanks to all the CA I was pouring out. So, of course, he takes Air Force. And he gets into multimedia. So I am ahead on points, but now he's starting to catch up. He has more of a culture income than I do, I should say. And now this is one of the toughest turns. I have Empire State Building that I'm eyeing. I have a bunch of great cards here at 1. But there's also International Red Cross, and I do have selective breeding researched at least. Now, it would have taken me a while to get the food up for that, but had I poured everything into selective breeding, then yeah, I could have easily gone for the Red Cross. And he didn't really have a whole lot of surplus food income. See, there it is. He has +2 food per turn. And so, and I was really struggling with this turn because I sensed that the military threat was pretty much taken care of. I just felt like I was okay on military. Like I have, as you can see, defensive army. I have cannons. The one thing I was weak on here is science. And so I thought, okay, no matter what, I'm definitely going to have to get into these computers. I have this efficient upgrade. But here I'm playing with the idea of going for selective breeding and taking the Red Cross. And what does that look like? And the problem is, it just is too many civic actions dedicated to the Red Cross. I wasn't able to get into the computers to the level I wanted to. So I just abandoned that idea. It was just too many CA to spend this early on wonders, I felt. And so I just abandoned that idea and went for computers. Empire State is still something I'm very interested in. Because I can, I am winning on the resource front, and soon the food front, and definitely the science front. Unfortunately, he gets another territory. Um, the plus side being that that was another 2 units that he had to spend for that, and his food is still the 2 irrigation. That's it. So that was quite expensive. He's down to 1 military unit, and also expensive in terms of resources. I mean, that was what? That was 5 resources, right? And he was only getting 3 per turn. He starts space flight and starts to build that. He does have a pretty decent science income, so he will be able to get a good amount of points for that. I'm looking at Marlene now, and I have movies in hand already. I grabbed it knowing that Marlene was at the 3CA section. And so I thought this would be a good way to kind of cinch this victory, to get Marlene and get into some movies. Also, I didn't really have a good happiness solution. And if I was going to get into this selective breeding, I would need some good happiness solution. It was either that or, I suppose, what's the other option? Oh, pro sports. So those were my 2 options I was feeling were viable. So I went with Marlene and I went ahead and researched strategy, or did I? These were things that I was considering. Definitely interested in Empire State here, because as I mentioned before, I have an advantage in quite a few areas, even strength at this point. Not culture, but it looked like I could get potentially 4 of the 5, and that's 28 points, which is pretty big. I have engineering genius in hand as well, so that helps. Impact of progress, something that also I want to consider is how that's going to play out. Like, does he grab civic service here, for example? Like, if he does, then impact of progress doesn't look so good. He wins the developed territory number 2 with 1 unit. So I don't know if he needed that really. He didn't need the yellows. The science is nice, but again, he's losing more resources and more population. He's somehow still stronger than me with 1 unit, but it is an Air Force. So at this point, I commit. He did not take the civic service, so I go ahead and commit to impact of progress. I didn't see him stealing military theory, given he has only 5 CA. So I didn't go for that here. I figured I could pick it up next turn. But I did go for the strength here, and then I finished Empire State for 28 points. And now I'm looking at United Nations. He's working on his space flight, so he can't steal it. But I start planning for United Nations. Now I don't really have any great impacts for it, but I figured, why not? Now the downside of going for 2 wonders, though, is that I wasn't able to really get that movies going this turn, and would have to get some pretty good cards coming out for me to get into it at all next turn. But, I was open to it. At this point, I was still open to that idea of either United Nations or movies next turn. Wasn't worried about the strength issue at all, really. Marlene's great for strength, by the way. I mean, I'm glad to have had her. I have here positional army, and with both modern infantry and riflemen, I have options for getting into that. So I'm just really not worried about strength. I'm don't quite have the hand to go aggressive, but I'm definitely feeling safe at this point. So Deluxe, like I said, he's still working on that space flight, so he cannot steal United Nations. He does have a pretty good hand as far as progress, and one thing I was concerned about is if he goes for an H3 government, then his impact of progress looks pretty decent. And we still have engineering that we're both contending for. So impact of progress was definitely a risky play on my part. He has the science for democracy, but I have to wonder what he's thinking. We're pretty close on points. It's actually really close at this point. It only is close because, well, he got a pretty good amount of points coming in. He has a multimedia, and I'm hanging in there with a lower culture per turn, but I did get the Empire State going. So it's beginning to show that my CA economy has been able to make up for the fact that I was pretty behind in military and lost a lot of momentum there when he stole my navigation. So there's his move. He plays engineering genius to get the next stage. I believe he played that. I think he was worried about losing it because I think that was only 2 rocks that he got. And he's maybe hoping that, well, I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe he's hoping that he can get more rocks in the yellows next turn. Anyway, he needs a lot more rocks to finish that wonder. Of course, I go ahead and pick up this wonder because, okay, so I had a choice. I could have built a movies and gotten 5 points per turn out of that, so 10 points. But United Nations looked like it was going to be more points than that. So that's why I went with United Nations. And then it looks like my point outlets are that, and then whatever I draw. Now I drew Impact of Culture, which is not in my favor. So unfortunately, that draw wasn't so great. Looks like he played Independence Declaration. He was kind of jockeying for the position there on that, but he ended up getting the brunt of that and losing. I think he lost. Well, he had tons of territories to choose from. I don't think that hurt him at all. He goes for Ian Fleming, comboing with his multimedia, and he took Endowment of the Arts, which is going to be 6 points for him. And this is my last turn, so this one I spent a kind of ridiculous amount of time thinking about because I wanted to just maximize all the things, impact of strength, potential. I didn't see impact of strength, but there's that to consider. And also definitely wanted to finish the wonder. And basically I would have had, 2 rocks left over after finishing the wonder, plus 4 from urban growth. So that's a total of 6 rocks really, which you can't really do a whole lot with 6 rocks age 3. I mean, even with engineering, a movie would have cost 8 rocks. But the good news is I did get engineering, which is good for impact of progress. It's also good for impact of variety, which I was able to show when I completed the wonder. And then there's also the other thing to consider here is the Nobel Prize. And so that's what I ended up doing with the rest of my actions was just research something, which is also good for impact of tech, of course, but mostly for the Nobel Prize of 4 more points. And then I just built another temple, and that was about it. So we'll see as that plays out in a second. So yeah, it's still really close on points. He was able to keep quite a bit of points coming in even throughout that. Even though he committed quite a bit to military, he did get pretty much. There wasn't a whole lot of events that came out, right? Like not a lot of strength-based events that were able to punish me for being weaker. It was mostly about trying to get stronger this whole game, and then the one successful aggression he had was, or not aggression, but the successful attack was that technology war, which was definitely pretty devastating and got him a lot of territories. And as you can see here, from his perspective, he has 10 rocks, and 13 is how much he needs to have for that wonder. So unfortunately for him, he wasn't able to complete the spaceflight. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have a shot at this, because he's got suddenly, like, first of all, he has 13 culture per turn. So he's getting another 13 after this. He went ahead and played a impact, and I think he's played 2 or 3 at this point. He played agriculture, and I think there's 2 more that he played. And if you remember, I played progress, impact of progress. So I think he has, oh, look at that, in movies. So now he's got the full complement for Ian. Colonies, population, he's got me that on that one, but then progress is where I shined, and I barely won. You know what? We basically tied. It was a really close game. So I hope you guys enjoyed that game, and I think from now on I'll probably be just making videos about the games that are in the tournament, the games that I play. And so you can look forward to some pretty competitive games, probably on a weekly basis. And if you're interested in joining that tournament, then the link to that is in the description below.